form is temporary, class is permanent. Sir Lewis Hamilton has won the British Grand Prix. And I'm going to bring you the main highlights of this race in 5 minutes. I'm going to do my best, guys, because there was so much that happened during this race. For me, this was a fantastic advertisement for what Formula 1 is and can be. But yeah, as always, 5 things that we learned from this race. So let's get into some of the main talking points for what happened in terms of significant calls and everything for this Grand Prix. So the race started out dry, but the rain came after about 10 laps or so, and some drivers, just a few of them, just a couple of them, namely Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez, thought that Inters was the right call at that time. They were the only ones who did that. Now, guys on the dry tyres were struggling. We saw quite a few drivers go off. I think Russell and Lando Norris both went off at different times. They were really struggling in those conditions, but that did not work out for them. Eventually, both those drivers had to pit again for some dry tyres, and then eventually got wet again. So yeah, it was not good for them. I mean, Perez, it was worth the gamble because he started from the pit lane. He was well down the order anyway, but Charles Leclerc was running in, I think he was about 6th or 7th place before he stopped, and he ended up down in 14th, so that's more points cost for him and Ferrari. He's not been getting any kind of good results really ever since he won his home race at Monaco. It's been a real fall from grace for him. But yeah, so obviously I've already covered the qualifying session yesterday with a 5 things review. Do check that out if you've not already, of course. But Mercedes were the fastest in qualifying, a 1-2 for them. George Russell heading up Lewis Hamilton, and in the early stages of the race it very much looked as though Mercedes were fastest in the dry conditions. But when the track started to get wet, McLaren really came into their own and actually made it a 1-2 for Norris and Oscar Piastri as well after a bit. And it eventually ended up with Lando leading the race relatively comfortably, but unfortunately for him, it would not last because McLaren made a few key mistakes. The third thing that we learned from this race is McLaren they've made an absolute pig's ear of this race, really, when you think about it. I mean, we had the issue with Oscar Piastri not double stacking with Lando Norris, so Oscar Piastri had to go another lap longer, so that meant that he was well down the order too. I think he went from 2nd down to 6th because of that. And then Lando Norris had problems of his own. He stayed out a lap longer than everybody else behind him who came in for dry tyres. He was stuck out on the intermediate tyres for another lap, and then when he came into the pits he ran too long, and that meant that his pit stop was about 2 seconds or so longer than it should have been, and that gave Sir Lewis Hamilton the lead of the race. And yeah, unbelievable. And it got worse unfortunately for McLaren too, because Norris would ended up getting passed by Max Verstappen, who was resurgent in the drying conditions. For some reason he just could not keep those soft tyres as well as Sir Lewis Hamilton, who won the race. Like I said, 4th thing that we learned, Lewis Hamilton, like I said, I mean, you know, form is temporary, class is permanent. That's what I always say with these things. Sir Lewis has not won a race since 2021, since he was last battling for the championship, but the most experienced winner in Formula 1, I think he's got 104 wins now to his name. He was crying in the car. I had a lump in my throat, and I still have a bit of a lump in my throat as well from that. It was really, really emotional. 9 Grand Prix wins around Silverstone, 9 wins at the British Grand Prix. Nobody in Formula 1 history has ever won 9 Grand Prix of the same type, nor at the same circuit either. He's broken some records yet again today. I'm not going to pretend like it's going to be the start of a championship challenge for him, but you know, that's a massive confidence booster for him as he heads to Ferrari for next year. You know, he is a winning driver in Formula 1 again. It's been a long time, we've missed it, but yeah, it's so great for him. But the 5th thing that we learned, the final thing, George Russell, hero to 0 for him, but it was not his fault at all. You know, obviously he got pole position, he was leading the race in the early stages. He did drop down to P4 because through the pit stops, but you know, he started to look very quick. He was catching Max Verstappen for 3rd, and then a water issue, a water pump issue, I believe the problem was for him. Yeah, so unlucky. He went, you know, he got pole position for his home race. He won the race last time out in Austria. He was fortuitous in Austria, but he had no luck at home. He retired, so I feel so sorry for Russell. But Lewis Hamilton, I am so happy for him winning the Grand Prix again. But guys, let us know your thoughts about this race. Best race of the season so far? I think it's got to be, hasn't it really? Let us know in the comments below. And of course, keep it subscribed to the F1Chronicle.com for much more video content just like this.